Breaking the news with Dan and Jordan.
Our sponsor this week is me, Dan Moser. If you need a news program sponsored, call me, Dan Moser, this week's sponsor. And now, our top stories. I have some breaking news. As you know, Jordan, Dinosaur Crime has been on the rise recently. And unfortunately, a lot of these dinosaurs are getting released back into the street because people can't seem to pick them out of a lineup. Now, as more and more dinosaur attacks occur, more and more citizens are being called down to the police station and attempting to identify these dinosaur killers, but because of a lack of education or an ignorance towards different dinosaurs, they're often picking incorrect ones. For instance, last week, my wife was mugged by a Stegosaurus, and she identified a Triceratops in the lineup.
Well, it can be very difficult to pin these dinosaurs down, especially when it comes to appearance. A lot of dinosaurs evolve, and what starts off as a Stegosaurus could well become a Brontosaurus down the line.
Absolutely, Jordan. And on top of that, a lot of the predator dinosaurs look very similar. It's very difficult to tell the difference between a Tyrannosaurus rex and an Allosaurus when you're being chased down a darkened alley by one.
Exactly. Why, we heard reports of a person who was attacked by one of these vicious dinosaurs the other day, and as they described it, it was just gnashing teeth. Could be any number of dinosaurs.
Exactly. The only ones that are kind of safe there are the ones with the smooth, flat teeth, like the herbivores.
Or the ones with the really long necks, so their teeth wouldn't be anywhere near you.
A positive note in this story, Jordan. Dinosaurs that use crushing damage are very few and far between, so they've been very easy to identify. For instance, the ankylosaur conviction rate is 98%.
Thank goodness for that. Breaking news! Police have been at a standoff for weeks on end at a compound just north of the East Pacific. A woman was taken hostage by 100 babies who had been radicalized over communications they had shared across various baby monitors. However, there is some good news in the situation. Police were able to deliver several large pizzas to this compound, which the woman then put into a blender and was able to feed to the babies. In exchange, the babies released a note, and in it, they had their list of demands, which read as follows. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah.
I think this sets a very dark and dangerous precedent, Jordan. If you start giving in to the demands of one horde of unruly babies, next thing you know, there's going to be swarms and swarms of these children just terrorizing our streets.
Yes, they learn very quickly. They have very tiny fingers, so they're able to do things like pick locks, sew, anything that requires nimble hands. And because they're so young, they will not be punished for any crime that they commit. That's why they're one of the biggest crime offenders out there as a group, babies.
This is a huge wake-up call for this reporter, Jordan. As you know, I have 15 children of my own, and I never saw them as a threat to me, but now I can't stop thinking about them being a threat to my well-being and safety.
A lot of people think they're getting a hug from a baby when the baby is actually trying to choke them. It's just simply too weak as an individual. But a group of babies has been known to choke a person in 30 seconds flat.
That makes total sense. For instance, one of my toddlers threw up in my mouth one time while I was holding him above me. Just imagine what could have happened if it were 10 or 15 babies puking in my mouth at once. I could have drowned.
You easily could have been overpowered, and yes, you could have drowned.
Terrifying. Terrifying. Well, some breaking news now from the world of zombies. Zombie unemployment has reached a record high in recent weeks, and the zombies are left wondering what to do. Many of them have been shambling aimlessly around the city, haphazardly looking for brains, knowing there's none out there to have. I was approached by a zombie that was sitting on the side of the road and just begging for brains.
I, as you know, once hired a zombie to be my head chef and ended up with an amount of brain that I don't care for falling into a lot of the food that he prepared. So I unfortunately had to find a new job for him. I made him my accountant, And now my accounts are doing very well. But there are many zombies that are left unemployed, such as these, and we need some way to take care of them. We can't just let them be undead.
Well, this is the problem with the whole unemployment thing for the zombies here, Jordan, is that they're kind of born and bred to do nothing but want to eat brains, right? Like they've already lived a full life, and now they've been infected with this specific virus that just forces them to want brains. They don't have any other skills. They're completely untrainable. And if you get them in an office situation, they'll just go around biting all your employees, creating even more zombies, making the problem even worse.
You're right. And back to my head chef again, every time I would ask him to cook brains for me, he would eat them before serving them to me. So I would strongly suggest anyone considering hiring a zombie as a chef to not do so. But please
Highly
give them other work.
Highly
Yes,
unprofessional.
Breaking news now in the world of beavers. Beavers are one of nature's cuddliest, friendliest, and lovingest animals. You can go right up to a beaver, pet it on the head, give it a hug, welcome it into your home, and you can do that freely and without fear. But one thing you apparently can't do is trust beavers to keep our secrets secret. Beavers have been spotted conducting surveillance on all of our dams across the world. That's right. Beavers from Tokyo to Anchorage, Alaska, and everywhere in between have been spotted using camera equipment, taking pictures of our dams, looking for different ways that we use our technology, hoping to incorporate it in their dams, stealing these secrets, bringing them back to the beaver community.
I just don't even know what to say. As a person who has always loved and trusted beavers, this is kind of a knife to the heart. You see them out there splashing in the water, swimming on their backs. You don't expect them to be kind of mining our secrets out so they can build more efficient dams, take over waterways that we're supposed to control.
And yet they are. The number of waterways controlled by beavers has gone up a staggering 762% over the last 3 hours.
Wow. Well, that's what happens when you're not paying attention. Things can just slip so quickly. Breaking news in the world of dogs. Well, Jordan, after a contentious 24-hour sitting, this year's dog budget is finally passed. That's right. It was an almost unanimous decision that all money be earmarked for the dog community. As you know, all of the city councilors here in this city are dogs, except for one. And coincidentally, the one person who voted against these measures was the human.
Wow. You wonder if dogs can, do these types of decisions and do them well, execute on their ideas, and they prove time after time that they can. And then you have people continually trying to hold our dog overlords back.
I just don't understand it. The dogs have proven, as you've said, so efficient in executing commands and being disciplined that humans just can't keep up. I've accepted their rule. I don't understand why our elected leaders can't as well.
I agree. A law that was passed that said, quite simply, if a dog can run faster than you, it is superior than you. And no one has been able to outrun the dogs that are on this council. Therefore, they are the rightful rulers.
No one has been able to outdig them. No one has been able to outsniff them. No one has been able to find bombs better than them. I mean, it's across the board. These dogs are superior to human beings in every way.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to take a moment of time here to say this message is not endorsed by Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan, but I, Dan Moser, humbly beg you to vote against Councilman Jackson Phillips.
Breaking news, also in the world of dogs. You would take your dog to a human vet. So would you send a human to a dog dentist? A dog has opened up a dentist practice, and the word on the street is that they are a very good boy. There is as many dentist sticks as you would like. You get a handful when you leave the office. You also get a cleaning, which is unconventional because the dog delivers it by tongue rather than using polish and drills. And then the dog will dig and scrape, prying the plaque from your gums and teeth.
And You know what? I've heard that this dog dentist is actually so professional, his tail never wags despite him enjoying every minute of what he's doing.
That's right. He has incredible control over his tail. The last thing a dentist patient would want is to be whapped in the tail during dentistry. You might jerk or move and get jabbed in the mouth with a syringe or sharp object.
Well, I'm glad he's thought of this.
He has thought of this.
I guess my only concern with a dog dentist, Jordan, would be that he'd bury something in my mouth while I was unconscious and then want to dig it up later, like a bone or something like that. I guess that would be my only concern.
I see you have heard about his allegations. Well, although he has been accused of doing this many, many times, this dog dentist assures this program that he is being obedient. He has been through obedience training and is now, incident-free for the last week.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I look forward to getting my teeth done there tomorrow. Breaking news now. Still in the world of dogs. There's a lot of dog news this week, Jordan. Jordan, are you aware that the African lion is on the brink of extinction?
I am.
And are you aware, Jordan, that the reason for this is because dogs dressed up as lions are infiltrating prides and converting the prides from big cat to big dog animals?
Well, these dogs are ingenious, infiltrating cat cells and converting them over to dogdom. That's
Indeed.
Outstanding.
And the costumes they have are so realistic, you can hardly even tell it's a dog in there until it's too late.
I wonder with cases like these if a dog doesn't get so deep undercover into the identity of a cat that it forgets who it is in a Donnie Brasco type situation and starts doing cat-like things.
Well, that's something we'll need to study in the coming months, Jordan, as these dogs look set to take over lions within the next 3 weeks.
Breaking news. Also in the world of dogs. My goodness, a lot of dog news
A lot of dog news.
We have a news alert for you now about our wanted person of the week. James Rover, age 7 in dog years, stands 23 inches tall and weighs 70 pounds. He is wanted for espionage, digging without a permit, and cat murder. If you have information leading to the whereabouts and apprehension of James Rover, the dog, please contact Good Improv at goodimprov.com.
And we can't stress this enough. Even if you have a dog catcher's hat and a dog catcher's net, do not approach this dog.
That's right. Don't whistle and say, "Here, boy," and sort of snap your fingers at him.
Don't offer him treats.
No. He is pawed and dangerous.
Well, one last piece of breaking news here, Jordan, in the world of entertainment. Now, for a long time, Times Square has been a beacon for tourists and people going to be delighted and entertained by costume performers. Well, one intrepid snake has decided that he's going to try his hand at this profession. As you can see, this boa constrictor has purchased a clown costume and a single long clown shoe because he doesn't have feet. And he is now entertaining crowds in the middle of Times Square every night.
A lot of people would think that a snake like that would be dangerous and they wouldn't want to approach it out of fear for their lives. But the fact that this snake has been able to shatter that stigma and entertain people as a fun clown really impresses me.
Me too. You should see his juggling routine.
We now have an expert interview. I'm here with someone who is an expert, and that someone is Mr. Dan Moser. Dan, welcome to the program.
Hello. Thank you.
Dan, you have been studying this topic for many years. You are well versed. You are the #1 leading expert in this field. And I understand that you claim you have evidence that a centaur is responsible for the death of JFK.
That is correct, Jordan. Now, I know what a lot of people out there are thinking. They're thinking, oh, this is another crazy crackpot conspiracy, like the idea that a minotaur took down JFK that's been debunked 100 times, or that a griffin swooped in and killed JFK, and again, been debunked hundreds of times. We don't need to go over those ones, okay? I agree, those are crazy crackpot conspiracies. But what I bring to the table is hard evidence. Now, what we often discount about the JFK assassination tape is everybody's so caught up looking at the tape and seeing the shocking images that they never think to listen to the tape. For the sound of hooves. For the sound of a guy saying, "Hey, Kennedy, look back here. It's me, a centaur. I'm about to murder you." Over top of the hooves.
And you claim to be in possession of the evidence of this audio recording?
That is correct, yes.
It's said that you will be releasing this as soon as you are able to raise $10 million.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I want to be able to preserve this recording properly. As you can imagine, a piece of tape with this historical value made so long ago needs to be preserved carefully and digitized properly. And the only way we can really do that is with a $10 million crowdfunding infusion of money.
And I also hear that you are working with Corey Feldman on this venture.
That is correct as well. Corey Feldman has proven to be both trustworthy and reliable, and one heck of a singer, if I may say so myself.
Outstanding. Well, I look forward to the release of this evidence, and if people want to contribute to your effort, where can they do that?
They can do that at my crowdfunding platform, which I've set up for myself. It's called Centaur Fund. So they can go to the URL that I'm hoping you'll show on the screen. It's centaurfund.com/JFK.
Fantastic. We'll put an image up there on the screen, and I hope you are able to release this evidence as soon as possible.
Oh, one last thing, Jordan, about this evidence. If I don't reach the crowdfunding goal of $10 million, I have been told that the evidence will vaporize away and there will be nothing I can do to release it. So,
standard procedure. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
We go now to sports with Dan Moser.
Hey there, Jordan. I've got some pretty serious sports coming at you this week. So, you may remember a few years ago there was that video of the water-skiing squirrel. Have you seen this video?
I have seen that video, and I love that video.
Well, I love that video too, Jordan. But what you don't see is what happens after the cameras are turned off. Now, a lot of people witnessed this incident, so I'm just going to recount it for our audience here, and they can hear it for themselves. After the tapes stopped running on that day with the water-skiing squirrel, the water-skiing squirrel wiped out. And his little skis went flying everywhere into the audience, and he came to the surface, no problem there. But when he swam to shore, he saw the person who was piloting the little teeny tiny boat kind of snickering at him. This caused the water-skiing squirrel to dive into a frenzy, and he scratched the guy's face off.
Goodness. These sports figures can have some very dark moments, and the water-skiing squirrel, as we know him as a sports icon, is one of inspiration. But the dark underbelly, the gritty reality of the life behind all the razzle and dazzle, it's astonishing.
You hate to see it, Jordan. A squirrel that was on the rise, everything kind of going his way, just taking one moment and throwing it all away for nothing.
I just hope it doesn't affect this squirrel's future prospects, because I'm a big sports fan, especially in international water skiing. And I know there's a big competition coming up, and I hope that squirrel is able to compete. I know there's also some chipmunks competing who think that they can take the squirrel's record down, but that squirrel is one of the best water skiers, even if that squirrel has a dark personal life. That squirrel's one of the best water skiers on the water.
That is true. That is very true. He is projected to win his water skiing competition this weekend, but still, with this new information that we're armed with, are we really able to trust him? What if he scratches off the face of a person awarding him a trophy afterwards?
It's a very real danger.
Very real.
Squirrels, when they decide to attack, can be very, very vicious. They have very tiny hands, sharp claws, fluffy tails, something to distract you with before they leap in for the attack.
Exactly.
I just wonder, maybe if there's something else going on. Maybe this squirrel is using performance-enhancing drugs, and that's leading to violent episodes. I know that's happened a lot in the squirrel world.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Jordan, because yes, his tree is actually located very close to a marijuana field. So I wonder if maybe he's going down to grab acorns and instead grabbing these marijuanas, and maybe it's messing with him somehow that way.
That would make sense because squirrels have stashes. So I wouldn't be surprised to learn if this squirrel has little stashes all over the place.
That's right. And for those of you not in the know, a stash is not a mustache. It's actually a place where a person would keep a stockpile of illicit narcotics.
When it comes to training for water skiing, a lot of these squirrels get into powerlifting and cycling. I wonder if there's some sort of crossover between those universes. Maybe there's a dark part of that culture.
Do you suspect the water skiing squirrel may be using anabolic steroids?
I suspect the squirrel may be using anabolic steroids, intravenous steroids, super duper steroids, all the different types that I'm aware of.
Wow. Well, that wild speculation is something I am going to immediately believe is fact, Jordan.
Well, as you know, we report on a lot of rumor and a lot of gossip, and we always take it as cold, hard truth. Mm-hmm. And that's been that way for hundreds of years. That's how it should always be.
I agree. And that's all for sports. Now I take it over to Jordan Ward for the weather.
Thank you, Dan. I'm here to talk about weather. And there's a lot of weather going on. People often just take the weather for granted. They think, oh, it's plain old weather. Wind a blowing, rain a dripping, sun is shining. But what they don't know is that in the world of weather, there is also fierce competition. And the competition for sexiest weather is happening right now. Tornado Irma Jean is going up against Hurricane Sarah. And there is also a tsunami named Bob in the mix.
Wow. I'm not sure we can put any of these photographs on screen, Jordan. These are quite ribald.
They're racy. Nature is raw and powerful, and sexiest weather is something that's getting a lot of attention in the world.
Oh my goodness. Well, I, for one, think that, not to editorialize here, but I think they're all very, very attractive weathers.
I think so too. This tornado here, Tornado Irma, and it tore through a town, and it left a path of sexiness that town hasn't seen in over 100 years.
Wow.
In fact, if we look at the science, and on this show we often like to, you'll notice that there's a trend when it comes to sexy weather. Sexy weather is increasing at an alarming rate, and scientists say that by the end of this sentence, sexy weather will have increased by 481%.
Wow. That's a huge increase. I guess I wonder if I just live in a bad area, Jordan, because it seems to me all the weather that comes through my neighborhood is ripping stuff up. Like, for instance, a tornado, if it came through, would just destroy everything. No one would get sexier. If anything, they'd get far more terrified and scared.
A lot of these weathers that go through and cause a path of destruction are weathers that have been made to feel less than when it comes to their sexiness.
Got it. A self-esteem thing.
The self-esteem issue in a lot of instances. And we confirmed that by interviewing some hurricanes. Now, a lot of hurricanes at first refused to comment. They just crushed us with tons of water and rain. But a few hurricanes did speak with us, going on to tell us that a lot of these hurricanes making landfall had been hard done by. They didn't have the easiest time coming up in the world. And by the time they were fully formed, they were full of anger.
I guess that is tougher for a storm that isn't quite perfect. Like, a lot of people say, I saw the perfect storm, for instance, and that's got to be really damaging for a storm that has even slight imperfections.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine trying to hold yourself up to that level of perfection. Even if you're a tornado, a hurricane, a fierce wind, or a gentle breeze.
I also imagine it's got to be tougher for something that's considered more of a minor weather event, like a gust of wind or a light rain, to try to compete with some of the hurricanes and tornadoes and monsoons they see on TV. It's just an unrealistic image for these storms. Not every storm can be a superstorm, you know? Not every wave can be a tsunami.
That's right. Meteorologists are now confirming that weather, even though it's getting sexier and sexier, is also getting more incredible, as weather's trying to out-sexy other types of weather. It's not yet confirmed, but it's believed that 3 weathers that are so sexy have gotten together, and they've formed sort of a weather orgy.
Wow. Like a superstorm.
Tornado. Yes, a tornado, a tidal wave, and a gentle breeze.
Oh, really? Well, that's a big surprise, actually, that they let the tidal wave in there. That's mostly a sea-based event.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I'll be on the lookout for this sexy weather the next time I step outside.
Fantastic. Well, Dan, I recommend, and our health professionals and experts recommend, you carry an umbrella, wear a raincoat, rubber boots, sunglasses, and of course, earplugs, just in case there's a wind. Protect yourself from weather and enjoy weather safely.
That makes total sense. You want to be safe out there, everyone.
Yes. Weather can strike at any second.
Well, you know what, Jordan? That's all the time we have this week, I'm afraid. So why don't we tell the people what we're going to be doing next week on Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan?
Absolutely. Next week, I'm proud to announce this, we are going to bring you a live report from the local library where a kegger is taking place and it is quietly raging out of control.
That sounds like a heck of a good time. I'm working on a story for next week as well, Jordan. This reporter is doing a movie review. I'm finally going to see the film Star Wars.
Wow. Well, don't spoil it, Dan.
No, the review will be spoiler-free so that nobody will have to worry. They'll be able to enjoy the film at their own pace.
Ooh, fantastic. And of course, next week, Bark. Is it your friend or is it your enemy? We fight several trees to get to the truth.
And I gotta tell you, Jordan, after beating up over 15 trees for this story, I'm gonna say that my favorite tree to fight is a birch tree. The bark is paper thin, almost like paper.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Also, next week, geese. Can you use them as a shovel? We find out on the next episode.
Well, one last story that I'm working on, Jordan. This is the last thing I have prepared for next week, so it may be only a 5-minute show or so. We answer the question once and for all. Is it more comfortable to sit on a chair or to sit on the stump of a tree?
That is a good question, and one that the experts have not come to a consensus on.
Well, we'll tell everybody what it is next week.
How fun.
Thank you for listening this week, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time on Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan.
This has been Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan.